Hi, I'm Garry Percell, smooth jazz guitarist, and I'm here tonight in the lab with Jamal Davis. If I could just go back several years and at the beginning of my music career, my falling in love with music, and when I was about 8 years old, fell in love with the guitar starting out in church, of course, with my mother and my family, and participating in church and choirs, and fell in love with music and fell in love with the string instruments. And when I began in my music career, I was watching television many times. Well, at that point, we only had maybe three television stations, which was ABC, CBS, and NBC. So you had to kind of watch what was on television. And many times on the weekend, on Saturdays, there were different dance shows and segments that came up on television. And I remember American Bandstand and Shindig and stations like that. Some of the younger folk may not even remember those. They're not old enough to remember those shows, but we had to watch those. And I remember about 8 years old and tuning in on a Saturday morning with the rest of my siblings and huddled around the television, and American Bandstand came on. I think it was aired on the West Coast, and they were outside on the beach. And I remember seeing this group that came on, and the name of the group, they said, coming up next, we'll have chairman of the board. And so I heard of them a little bit because my older sisters and brothers had bought all of their 45 records, their number one songs and things of that nature. So I would go and take those records and go downstairs in our basement with the little record player, portable record player, and grab my little guitar, my Sears guitar, Silverstone guitar, and Silvertone guitar, and I would try to play those songs by the chairman of the board. And so that was at 8 years old, so I was learning that material from the chairman of the board. Then I really fell in love with that group when I watched them on American Bandstand. Little did I know that years later, after I graduated from high school and really was bitten by that bug of music and wanted to make that my career as a guitarist, and then I went on the road for a while after that with several bands and groups at a young age. Got a call to come up to Chicago, Illinois, and work for a record company with a friend of mine, Robert Irving III. We all know him down here in the South by Bobby Irving. And he was working with Miles Davis at that time and recording with him and in Miles' band and as a road musician. So he says, come on up to Chicago. A lot of good things are happening. So I got on the plane and went to Chicago and worked on that label as a guitarist and a session background guitarist and a session singer. And at that point, did some work there, and I got a call from one of my friends out of Charlotte, North Carolina. And he says, hey, you ready to get out of the city? So I said, yes, I'll take a little break from the city for a while. And he said, there's a group down south here called the Chairman of the Board, and they're looking for a guitarist. And I thought maybe you want to audition. So I caught another flight out of Chicago into Charlotte and auditioned for the Chairman of the Board as a guitarist. Didn't know if I was going to get the job or not, but it was worth a shot. Little did I know that they gave me the position as a guitarist at the chairman of the board. That was a dream come true, because the thing about that is that they were the inspiration for me wanting to be a professional guitar player. Because remember what I said a few minutes ago is that when I was 8 years old, that I was listening to their music then when they had a lot of number one hits. So it started going full circle, and there was nothing but God that directed that path. And I remember General Johnson, who was the leader of the chairman of the board, that was one of the writers of most of the hits of chairman of the board and the number one lead singer of that group. And I asked him when we were out on the road one day, I says, there were other guitar players that auditioned. I wanted to know, why did you choose me as a guitarist? And he mentioned that because it was the sound that I had when I played that music, it reminded him those years when it was originally recorded. And I had to let him know that, shared that story with him, is that it's that way because your music and this music that I'm in now and part of this history organization right now is the group that inspired me to play guitar. And I was learning this music several years before that 15, 20 years back, I was already learning that music. Did not know I was going to land there with this Grammy Award winning group and a string of #1 hits. And so I was with the chairman of the board for many years, and we toured all over the United States in different places. And then a sudden change happened in my life, and we were flying because at that time the agency and the organization that was tied with the chairman of the board, we had our own jet. So we were flying different places, and I remember coming back from a tour, Southeastern tour, and we were flying back from Texas, I do believe. And God spoke to me then, 30,000 feet above the earth, then says, it's time to come home and do some work for the kingdom of God. So I came home and started working here as the kingdom of God and playing music. Lord told me to put down the guitar for a while because he wanted me to study more about him. So in that ministry, the ministry began at the beginning of the ministry. And the road has taken me several places right now. And now I asked the Lord, I says, when are you going to release me back to playing guitar once again? He says, well, all the things, and you answered the call to come back and work in the ministry and do the work of God, and do the work of me. And so you can pick up the guitar. And that has started me on my second journey as a musician now and as an artist. And I'm digging deep back of all the things that God gave me an opportunity to learn out there on the professional level. And I really thank all of the groups that I have played with down through the years that gave me the opportunity to learn so many things there. And so I'm digging deep and to reach back to use all of those things and all those tools that I've learned professionally. And I've been a side man for many years. So now God has given me the opportunity to come from the back and come up to the front. That brings me to the portion now of my life where I started doing my first project after so many years, and entitled Garry Percell. I have a brand new single entitled Every Time I Close My Eyes that goes back to maybe the early 2000s. It is a remake by Babyface. It's called Every Time I Close My Eyes, and it's done smooth jazz. It's about doing feel-good music, and I hope that you would love it if you go and check it out. It's on many platforms that you can find it. Just be on the lookout. There's good things coming your way. And what makes it all possible that I didn't know is that during the process, God has made it possible for me to build an own recording studio. And it has opened up the doors for many different people, those who are professional that come to the studio, record their projects and things of that nature. It's also opened up a door for younger people who have the desire to learn more about being a true artist, or even on the technical side. Even here, Jamal Davis, that's here in the lab that I'm here today, is one of those who came through the studio, and that comes through on the engineering side. And whenever I need him to do a few things for me, I just give him a call. He comes through the studio, which is Upward Bound Recording Studio, and he comes in and does engineering work there. Good things is just going to be coming from all respects, and that's why I do most of my recording is at Upward Bound Recording Studio for my project. Another thing that I want to mention when it comes to business and owning your own business and have aspirations for moving forward and starting your own business is that look inside your community, because there are several people that are doing different things and many different things, but unfortunately there's not a lot of money or resources there to undergird all of these new upstart businesses. And one thing that I've learned is that, and it takes me back when we grew up through the 60s and 70s as Afro-Americans too as well, is that we understood that it took a village to raise a child. And you can use that same concept to life and in your business too as well. It is because, and what I mean by that is that when we grew up in our neighborhoods, sister so-and-so over across the street or down the street, or Mr. so-and-so, they were our mothers and fathers too, when we was out of the outside of our natural mothers and fathers. And so they raised us too as well. The whole community raised us. So if we could take that same format that we had then and that unity that we had then and incorporate that into our own businesses, especially startup businesses and is trying to get off the ground and get themselves known. It is that because my resources can be resources for someone else, and someone else's resources can be resources for me that I need. Case in point, it is that I run a recording studio, but I don't run a video side of that recording studio. So, like Jamal Davis with the lab, is that if I need video work done, then I can call him, and then he can do the video work side, and I can do the audio side because I have a professional full-fledged studio. If I need artwork done, then I have individuals that I can go to that does graphic work, and they can do that graphic work. So you see where I'm going is that one hand feeds the other. One hand feeds the other, and another hand feeds the other. But all together, collectively, then we all eat at the table.